In this episode, we're talking about our skiing experiences in Japan this winter and how it's affected our life here, our thoughts about business. I'm also opening up a bit about my new project and how it's taken me so long to get started with it. Let's talk about the mental challenge of physical exercise or things like skiing or backcountry skiing like you did.
I have never been like to do cross-country skiing because I think it's boring. I like to go downhill. But I think I got a new experience this winter because I was watching a lot of videos before I went to Japan about all the mountains there, backcountry skiing. So the highest mountain there is Mount Yotai, and I think it's 1,800 meters. And it's a big volcano. You can even ski in the crater up there. I was watching people going up there, and first of all, it's kind of dangerous because it's a lot of avalanche there. But I'm not doing it because of the avalanche. But just walking up 6 hours and ski down again, and I think the feeling for me is just do it with the body. You don't need a lift. So we are not skiing so much. You're walking up for 6 hours and one day I used 6 hours to ski up and I used 15 minutes to ski down. I started to do some backcountry skiing and I figured out how much I can do. And what was fun is like I'm trying to lose weight. And I figured out that when I did backcountry skiing one day, I lost almost 1 kilo because it's really hard. So then I get more interested doing it because I want to lose some weight, even with the Hokkaido diet. That was a lot of chocolate. It was a lot of unhealthy things.
All the desserts.
Yeah, I started to drink Coke again when I was in Japan. I've not been drinking Coke for many years, so a lot of sugar, but I was burning so much calories. And I also find a guy from Canada, was 29 years, and he told me the first time I was doing backcountry, I'm born to do this. I'm like, this is my life. And he was so into it. And I'm so stupid that I go up backcountry with a guy that are super fit and is like 15, 16 years younger than me. So I was really challenging myself and I was so tired. One day I was sending a message to you guys and saying, I feel my legs is gone. I don't feel them anymore. When I go back, that's the days I remember when I was really tired. And I think there's something with challenging yourself. You don't remember the hard things when you went up. You remember the experience and being in the mountain and being totally alone. I also know Tien was with us. I was walking on the mountain with him and said like, this is why I'm here. I'm not here for taking the lift up the mountain. I'm just being in the nature, walking out and feeling like you are in the nature and not around people.
I think what you say about the being in nature, it's something about the flow state or the no thoughts state, because at least for me, I focus so much of my energy on the physical challenge of getting up the mountain or skiing down or just being there that I can't think of many other things at the same time. So it's a good practice of just being present with what you do, because usually, and you are an expert on multitasking, at least you like to think so, but like skiing, you can't work, you can't be on your phone, you can't send a message to someone, or you can't talk to people even, because you just have to be there. Like that's the only thing you do. Even if it's physically challenging, it's relaxing for the mind, or it's another state for the mind. And then what also happens for me is that then when it's challenging, or when all of you are ahead and I feel like, oh, I'm so slow, and my brain, like, that happened last year as well. And this time also, it's like, why are you such a chicken? And I'm like, and I told myself then, I just heard myself say like, why aren't you braver? Why aren't you blah, blah, blah? And then I had to have this discussion with myself, but you're actually here. If you were really like not brave, you wouldn't be here. It's already courageous because I was here with 3 people that are much faster than me and stronger. And everything I do, when I do like physically demanding or even things that I need to concentrate on physical, we can talk more about golf later. It's a chance of practicing the mental game as well. Because I talk so much about how you need to be your own supporter and like how to get over the inner critic. But when I put myself in those situations, the critic shows up and I have to practice my own strategies on actually how to get rid of it. I think it's an opportunity for growth. Like every time we do challenging stuff, no matter if it's mentally challenging or physically challenging or whatever challenging, it's making us grow as a person.
So I have an interesting question for you, because when you left Japan and I was there 1 month alone, He was always behind us, and he was saying, "Oh, I'm behind," or "Oh, this is too challenging for me." And when he come back, he was just another person. What happened after his 4 weeks? Because he was riding faster, he was getting on the black slopes, he was getting off piste, and he was much faster. What happened the 4 weeks he was here?
That's interesting. No, I firstly, when we came to Japan for Christmas, I was sick. I was physically sick, so I was my best form for a few weeks, and I felt like I was on the upward spiral when I the last week we were there. I felt like I was doing a bit better, but I actually had this story many years ago that I had been skiing with a group of friends, and we've been skiing every year for like many years in a row, and then I was out for a few years because that was when I got Vemund. I think I hadn't been skiing for 2 years. And I came back, and one of these guys said, "Maria, what happened to you? You're so much better skier." And I just said, "Mental training." Because I, at that time, I'd been working with a coach to let go a lot of fears and a lot of like limiting beliefs and other things I was afraid of. And it just made me not being afraid of the skiing. And I think that's something that happened also between, like, we were there for Christmas, New Year's, and we came back for Vietnamese New Year. I did some healing work. I did some release work. I did some other things. And I also do think that I have a tiny bit of competitive gene. So I talked a lot about my mental game when I was skiing. But what about you? Do you have thoughts going on? Do you have the inner dialogue, or are you just there? Like, how does your mental game work when you're skiing?
So when I'm skiing, I just stop thinking or just live in the moment. But I think if you look at the 2 months I have, the last week I was jumping much more, I was doing much more, and I was doing when I was more childish. But I also think setting a goal. I had this goal but I never did that. But I said to them, and let us jump from a 8-meter cliff or something. I didn't do that, but I just had this picture of wild jumping from my 8-meter cliff all the time. So I was at least I start to jump. For skiing, it's more like it's not a challenge for me. It's just having fun.
But for example, when you were going uphill with this 29-year-old super fit guy that was kind of ahead you, are you just still not thinking any like, nah, this is hard?
Yeah, of course. But he asked me, so what is your biggest challenge? Is it the physical or is the mental game? I say it's the physical. Oh, then it's no problem because everyone loses on the mental game. And then I told him that it was the physical things. I couldn't say that I'm thinking now to turn around and all these things. I was saying this I say to him that this was physical, so I can be super tired, but I can still use my brain to get up there. So I should never say that, but maybe it's helped me.
I think it helped you.
Yeah.
That's a good strategy.
I think we can do all the episode about Japan, but how are you feeling after being back in Vietnam?
I'm actually thinking quite a lot about why I love Hoi An so much. I've been talking to so many people, and we have had people here, and everyone is like, Hoi An is great. And I'm like, yeah, it is great. And then I'm thinking, but the weather isn't that nice for the most of the year. Like, and we have the rainy season, then we have the cold season, and then we have the far too hot season. And like, there's just a few months in there where it's really great. But for some reason, for me, the beach is like a super, super, super big factor to me being happy here. So just being able to walk on the beach. And to be honest, the best beach walks for me is the stormy ones. It's the one when I maybe shouldn't be out there because the waves are like too strong and nobody else is there and it's windy. And at some parts of the year, I am not out there because it would be actually like deadly. But I love the beach, and that's part of what I like here. I'd also been talking about that before in other episodes about the entrepreneurial community that we live in. And I also think that one of the things that I realized when we were on this kind of cabin trip in Japan, we're stuck together in a small house, is that a lot of the people that are our friends here, they're very open-minded and they're very accepting. Because I think when you have such a diverse community, when people from all over the world, we are so different. So you kind of have to accept and respect other people's way of doing things. And now we haven't been living in Norway for a few years, so maybe I shouldn't be like judgmental about it. But of course, when people are more similar, it also kind of less acceptance for being out of what is kind of normal. And here, normal is already like super white. So it's very easy to kind of be weird and still be accepted. I think that's maybe what I like about being here. I'm not even sure if I'm answering your question.
No,
what do you like about Hoi An?
What I like about Hoi An?
Or how do you see the differences between Japan and Vietnam?
Oh, that's a lot of differences. but both are in Asia. That's something. Because I feel I should be born in Asia instead of Scandinavia or Norway. I feel less and less home in Norway. I feel like Asia. I don't know if Hoi An is really home, but Asia is more like, I love the Asian culture. I love people here. I love, maybe it's because it's so different, but also I think like being an expat, and now we have been away for 6 years, and everyone I talk with who have been away from their home country for many years, they say it's harder and harder to get back. And there is some kind with the lifestyle. I hate to clean. I hate to wash clothes. I hate all this practical thing, and we have people doing it for us, and we can't afford that. So that's also something I like with it being here. And many things about that's a luxury life. But I think it's outsourcing. It's just like outsource what you don't like to do in life. Everyone is talking about outsourcing for a company, but outsource also other things and spend more time. I like to make food, so it's not that I don't like it, but if I can use that hour to someone else that is more valuable and have someone cooking food or eating out and still it's cheap, then it's better for me. So I think that, but also the beach and the environment. There's many cool people there. And I love that it's kind of in the middle of Southeast Asia. It's easy to get to Singapore. It's easy to get to India. It's easy to get to Japan. It's easy to get to Bali. It's easy, even, we have not been there, but even Australia is not far away. So I feel like we are I feel Asia is more in the middle of the world than, of course, Norway, who is in the side.
I can say something more about the difference between Japan and Vietnam, because I think it's actually super funny, because in Japan, everything is super orderly, everything is super quiet. You don't go out and talk loudly, or you don't, if you're in the airport or if you're at a cafe, you're not putting your phone like with sound on listening to something. And when we went to this concert, we went to a Queen and Adam Lambert's concert in Sapporo. And I noticed when we came in to the big stadium that they had these lines on the floor outside the toilet, and with arrows on them. It was like a back and forth path on the floor. And then in the break, when I went to the toilet, there was this lady with a sign marking the end of the toilet line, and she would make sure that everyone went into the right line and nobody was sneaking. And I was like, oh, this is so relieving, because in Vietnam, it's like you have to elbow yourself and everyone's sneaking and nobody's waiting. And it's just a total mess. And Japan is so orderly. And maybe those countries, I feel like they are kind of on the extreme side, both of them. Also, we had this experience when we came out of the concert, and because of the capacity of the roads there, like people couldn't leave quickly because it just took time to get everyone out. So we were lining up. I think we were lining up for an hour to get out of the stadium and back to our car. Then Vemund, my youngest son, he's always a bit all over the place, and he was kind of sneaking up somewhere, and just suddenly he was like many meters in front of everyone else. And then I think it was Tien, our friend, who was like, Vemund, very loudly, and all the Japanese were like, wow, what is he doing? Like, he's screaming out loud. And the group of women, like before us, they started giggling like super loud. And then all like other people in the group were like, Vemund. And that turned into a joke. But it was, I think the kind of the comic thing about it was that no Japanese person would do that. It was just because we were these rude foreigners, and we were just super loud, and everyone was like, whoa, what is this?
I have always thought about writing a book called Street Smart for Dummies, because I think many are not street smart. So street smart is something you just like how to live life. And when we was in Japan with these other people, they were also kind of street smart. So we was on this concert. We had some of the cheapest tickets. But again, this is different from Japan, from other places, because if you go to a concert in Europe, or you go to a concert, what other places, it's guards between the cheapest and the most expensive tickets. But Japanese people are so polite. So there was no guards there. So we were street smart. We figured out, why are we sitting here with the cheapest ticket when we can go down on the...
And there are free seats down there as well.
And the free seats, there was a seat. So we went down there, and we were sitting quite, nicer, not far away from the stage. But then we figured out, why are we sitting here when we can go in the front on stage? And here's the thing. Everyone was sitting... Japanese was sitting on the chairs under a Queen concert. There was no one raising up and dancing and all this thing. So in the end, we were standing in the front of the stage, like I had the band 1.5 meters in front of us. I know, if that was in concert in Norway. We need to be there 8 hours before the concert and try to get in there. But there was no one. We went right up and we was in the front. After a while, it come some guards and took us away. But anyway, that was possible. And that's also kind of different in the culture with, I think in Vietnam, it will be totally different. Like everyone will try to get in the front of the stage. But one thing I think is really interesting is the new project you started. Why I think it's interesting is something you have talked about for 12 years. And I have been something that have been super frustrating for me, because I think like everyone should do what they love to do in life and do it. I have tried, not hard enough, but I tried to motivate you and inspire you to do it. But it's like every time it's stopped up, or I don't know, not prioritize it. And so you have started with a new department in Awesome in our company.
Yes.
So can you tell me about what you have done?
Yeah, no, the story is that when I started working for you in 2010, I was trying to launch my career as a speaker and a coach and kind of inspirational speaker. But at that time, I didn't know anything about sales and marketing, and that stopped me from getting clients. I had the exact same problem as most of our other awesome clients have. Like they want to inspire people, they want to teach people, but they don't know how to sell and market themselves. And then I started working for you instead. And then we did all these physical events with international speakers. And I got to do a lot of master of ceremonies, and I got to do a lot of speaking. I think it was super useful for my confidence and everything. And when we started Awesome, I always said, like, I want to do this other thing. As you say, it's been quite a few years. And I think part of it is, this is interesting because I'm teaching people to kind of go for their dream and be unstoppable and as entrepreneurs. And I feel like when I think about it now, it looks like I wasn't ready before. And because of my personal development, I could have done other things before, but I couldn't have done what I'm doing now before because I wasn't ready. And I do think there's some kind of universal timing. And I think maybe we're not agreeing on this, but because you were like, no, you're just kind of avoiding it or not being courageous. And I think kind of you're right, and I think kind of you're wrong. It's hard for me to, but I felt like in the autumn of this year, it's like now it's kind of there. I'm ready to give birth to it. I'm getting to bring it out in the world. It's exciting and a bit scary, and that's perfect because
so tell more about what it is.
That's
like
how what it is. Yeah, no. So I've developed a method called the Unpack method process. When I see all the personal development that I've done, I see all the phases of what I'm doing, and I put that into a process, and I call it Unpack process because it's a nice name, and also because it's a nice metaphor, I think, because I feel like we are born and then we are innocent and we're small and we don't have any belief systems and things, and we don't tell ourselves that we're stupid or can't do things, and then somehow we pick that up from parents, environment, school, blah blah blah, and we're creating meaning of things that we aren't developed enough to create meaning of, and then we start kind of carrying around on a bunch of things that are heavy. That's kind of my vision of it. It's we have a backpack, and we put a lot of things in there that isn't supposed to be there, that is burdening us, that is bringing us down, that is limiting what we do, and we're comparing ourselves to others, and we're telling ourselves we can't do it and we're not good enough, and all the imposter syndrome, like all of those things goes into the backpack. And then for me, I felt like at some point I stopped putting things into the backpack. I got to this stage where I kind of understand that I choose my beliefs, and I can be my best supporter, and I don't have to believe in the inner critic. And I have ways that I can snap out of it when it shows up and start blah 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 blah. I can okay, that's not a constructive thought. Let me choose something else. So I stopped putting things into the backpack. But then when you continue with that backpack and it's still heavy, and you work through life, and then I kind of got into my 40s, and I'm like, this backpack is super heavy, and now I'm getting tired, and I have some physical pain in my legs and blah blah. And then I'm like, okay, I have to actually have to take things out of this backpack that doesn't serve me anymore, because I don't want to go around and carry it. And that's why I call it the Unpack process, because for me, it's just a description of how the process of personal development, how you understand new things, then you kind of let go of some things, then you choose new beliefs, then you have to re-identify who you are, because otherwise you can't change. And that's what I'm doing, and I'm excited about it. So what's your focus in the company these days when I'm doing that project?
Right now I'm focusing on speed, get up to speed. Sometimes I feel like the company is on a retirement speed. It's like slowly, it's like sitting in a rolling chair and trying to do stuff. And I want to speed it up. In the business we are in, I think speed is the most important thing. It's not about getting things done perfectly. It's not about to have the perfect landing page. It's not to have the perfect sales script. It's not to have the perfect webinar. It's not to have the perfect ad. It's just to get something out there and do it. I'm really looking at how I can speed up. And I think what is really interesting to be an entrepreneur when sometimes you're just looking at the cost for having employer or how much cost it is. But it's also about what just realizing me, if I don't have the right teammate in the team or the team player in the team, it takes a lot of time for others. So even if the cost is low, the salary is low, there is taking time from me and others. So I also thinking sometimes it's better to pay someone really well and get a superstar. That's also what I'm thinking about. I want a smaller team. It's better to have 5 people that are really performing and pay them really well. That's kind of what I'm thinking about, how to speed up things and get the right. I know this is something that I'm working on for 20 years. It's all about, I remember I was reading the book with Darren Hardy for many years ago. He says like hire a player. Even if you don't have money for it, you will find money when you have a player, because a player will bring in more money to the company. And on that time, it was that was the last time the company was running. We tried to find people who was unemployed, and we get the government support to have them in our company. And I didn't think about that was a cost. For even if we had them for free for 6 months, it was a cost because I need to follow up there, and my time is really valuable. When I do, I'm really best at, I can bring in a lot of sales because I'm a good salesperson. But if I'm taking away from focusing on the sales, we are losing more money than the cost on it. And that's like sometimes I refer to the hidden cost, the cost that you don't see in a company because you just see like, oh, why should we pay someone 10K in salary when I can get someone 2K? It's like ROI. We are talking about ROI on ads all the time. And how much do you spend on ads and how much do you get back? And I had a conversation with my mentor this week. And he said, I always hire based on attitude, not on skills. Because what we are doing in our company is really simple to learn. If you get the right attitude, and we have some A player in the company, some really good people, and they have the right attitude, and then it's easy to teach them. It's like people think like digital marketing is so complex. It's not. It's quite simple, but we make it too complex, and the right person can learn it. It's like the best person we have in the company. She learned to run Facebook ads in 1 hour, I think, and after that she knew it. And others like used 100 hours to do the same thing, and she didn't know anything. She was coming from a totally other industry. So I think like hiring the right people or figuring out how we can get someone doing it faster so I can free up my time and you can free up your time and we can do what is our super skills. And yeah, that's what I'm working with. So after being in Japan a couple of times and having some time with good friends and having time with family, what changed for you mentally or how you live your life, and what are you thinking differently after that 2 trips?
No, I feel like we call this podcast Scaling Life, and about 10xing your business is about 10xing your life. And I feel like what we are doing when we're traveling, when we're skiing, when we're taking more time off, is to kind of expand our life or grow in our life. And also what it brings out is like we always wanted to have a location independent business. We wanted to be free. We wanted to work when we wanted to. And one of the things we saw was that there are still things in our company that isn't running very well when we are not there. And so just it brought up some things that we need to pay attention to have that business that we want. But also just as you said, I didn't talk to as many entrepreneurs and things as you did because we were there with a group, but just being in another environment, meeting other people, that changes the perspective. And it's very interesting because we have had, like the last weeks, we had people here and some people working on their businesses from here. And it's something about getting out of that thing you go to every day and be somewhere else, because it's not possible. Like when I'm here, I think I can think at least relatively the same thoughts every day, because I walk out of my house, I walk the same road down to the beach, I walk on the beach, I see the same things on the beach. They're changing pretty fast in Vietnam, but it's not like it's changing every day. And then, so I think the same thoughts, but when you are another place, you have to think different thoughts. And especially, as we said, when we're up there skiing and it's just free flow of powder and kind of, it's like, wow, this is a blank slate of paper. And then you get creative. So I think it's just the the clarity on how I want to live my life and what is important. I think that's something that I got from the experience. What about you?
I think like the autumn was quite frustrating and hard for me. One thing is like I also get sick with dengue, and we had the last year went really good in the business until Q4. It's just like everything stopped up. But I'm reflecting on it. We had some events, we had other things, we had new team members, we had a lot of things. But for me, it's like I felt like I was, before I went to Japan, I felt like I was accepting that things was not good. And accepting is like, then you just lower your level. And having 2 months, I didn't have off because I was working 4 or 5 hours every day. And sometimes also I had full days where there was the bad weather or something. But most of the time I had few. So coming back, I felt like I get this energy back and not accepting, what do you call it? Mediocrity? Mediocrity? I can't say that word. That was fine. But you know what I mean. So not accepting it. And sometimes when I'm back with full energy, I feel like I'm a pain in the ass to be a leader in a company because I want to speed things up. But I also believe, I think I left with think, oh, this is how it should be. But I really believe there is a way that I can work 5 hours per day and have a really good income and have a growing company. I believe that now, but I also believe, and I also understand that I can't run the company as I did before I went to Japan, because I started to get this thought when I was in Japan. I like this life. I can do a lot of things. We also been, we can talk about it later. We also been starting to play golf, but there is a lot of things I can do that are more fun, interesting, that I want to spend my life on. And to do that, I also need to run my business differently and believe there is a solution. I believe there is great people out there. Before maybe I'm thinking like, okay, there is no people that really can work on the speed and what I'm believing. But now I really believe it. I know I will find them. I know I will find a solution. And it's maybe right in front of me. But that's kind of changing. And I think it's good for all entrepreneurs to take more time off doing what other things, because it get more space and see what is possible. I saw what was possible with my skiing. I improved from maybe a 2 to 7 in skiing. And if I can also improve how effective and how to build a team from 2 to 7, it will be a great business. Thank you so much for listening to this episode.
To dig deeper, visit awesome.com/scalinglife. That's awesm.com/scalinglife. You'll find show notes, resources, and links mentioned in this episode, as well as links to our socials.
If you like what you heard, please rate and review us on the podcast platform of your choice. Your feedback is so important to help more entrepreneurs to discover this show.
Our goal is to provide inspiration, and we hope you'll continue scaling alongside us. Thanks for your support, and see you next time.